What is happening, guys? We got 29 minutes. I'm hoping to bang out a collection update of some kind of entertainment value. So let's get into it. Starting off, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do me the favor. Click the subscribe button. You're gonna love it! So what we do here is, this is the most recent things that I've gotten into my household in the last 2 weeks or something. 3 weeks? I don't know. Who's counting? What is going on behind me, you asked? This is my first time spinning this. Troll Cave is the cassette. Rotted remnants dripping into the void. Gurgling Gore release here. I don't want to give you my download code here. As I understand this, this is the... Oh, I'm gonna butcher. I forgot the guy's name. This is oh, hey, look at that. This is a Spanish, I believe, from Spain, project. I don't know much about it, but dude's wearing a little Incoffenation shirt. How about that? My homies. I can't remember. This guy's in some other solo project that's really cool that I got a tape of last year. So, background, yeah. Sounds cool so far. More tapes, shall we, I guess? So this is another one I haven't spun. A lot of these I haven't spun yet. My listening has been kind of all over the fucking place, but let's see. THRN with Gardens of Rot. Nice purple tape there for you tape heads. That was a good movie. Tape heads? Yeah. Taste busted. Fucking sucks. My homie from Dryad hooked me up with some Gems label releases. Come on. Whatever. There's not an English letter on this entire release, but this is really cool. Some very grim, distant... ooh, that's a really thin paper there. Just really bone-chilling, super distant, reverb-drenched black metal. Really cool. I actually listened to that a couple times. Just tried to put this in. I was going to play this in the back of the video. This is that Baselvat, an old forgotten text, which I've been raving to you guys about. It's really cool, but this tape doesn't work. Doesn't work. So... might have to get another one. All right, so hope that was an exciting chapter of my video. We got some CDs. Would you believe it? How about, I don't know, I'm gonna get the shit out of the way first. Stuff that I haven't listened to. I ordered an LP from Melanie of Melanie Love Death Metal, and she hooked me up with this Massacred CD, The Devil's Awakening. Is it good? It's on Corpse Gristle. I think I've heard good things about this said label. And it comes with a Massacred guitar pick. I gotta start playing guitar one of these days. I swear. The writing's on the wall, folks. So here's a cool one I have listened to a few times. I've kind of known about this for a handful of years and just kind of never wound up getting around to picking it up. And since I am kind of rounding out my collection of the Kirk production releases, I decided to find a... Come on! Whatever. This is in Flabitan with Wanderer of Grief. So, interesting release. This is 2 tracks, which are really long tracks, and they feature one of my favorite drummers, Carl Michael Ide on the skins. And the rest of the songs are pretty hokey, kind of clumsy drum machine, early Norwegian black metal, but that's not really a bad thing. Of course, the great drumming by Carl Michael is really good. The first 2 tracks on here are kind of almost amazing. The rest of it, though, this project just kind of never really got off the ground. This kind of dwells somewhere between early Dimmu Borgir, early Ulver. It's certainly not as like polished or well written or developed in a studio as the good Norwegian black metal of that time. But it's really, really interesting. In Flabbertan was a member. It's mostly just like a solo project where Carl Michael helped out on 2 tracks. He played in some other groups. I'm not recalling what other bands he played in. I want to say like Mortum or something. He's an old school Oslo guy. But he actually reawakened the project in 2022, I think, and did a full length, which I think I downloaded and maybe listened to a little bit of. I've always kind of meant to get around to listen to that more again. Let's see. My local record store had a couple of things I didn't really expect to find and haven't gotten around to listening to. I know, this is a shite update. I miss you guys. Dead Raven Choir. Cask Strength Black Metal. Double disc. I don't really know. I may have heard this project at some point throughout the years. I think I remember it being like really kind of hard to take on the ears, really nasty kind of stuff from what I remember. It appears that it may be a collection of demos. I don't know. We'll see. This is something I've been meaning to get for a long, long time. My buddy, who we call lovingly Dinger, calls this one of his favorite. Should I be doing this? Calls this one of his favorite albums of all time. The Skaden, formerly known as Eikenskaden, and You Will Hope I Had Died. Apparently, this is like one of the kind of earlier-ish great examples of DSBM. And like that's a genre that everybody fucking goes on about more than I do. But some of it really resonates with me. Some of it. So I am expecting this to be pretty good. I think I picked up an Eikenskaden album and liked it. But it was really, really suicidal black metal. And the album is called You Will Hope I Had Died. And the guy died. Killed himself. So, did the final seppuku of DSBM that you do. And here, never expected to see this. Not that this is rare or anything. It's just something I haven't really thought about for a really, really, really long time. I think this was one of the first things that Isan did after Emperor was done, or maybe even before Prometheus or something. But do you remember Harding Rock? Put this in front of my fucking face like a smart guy. So I guess this is like a nationally celebrated Norwegian fiddle player playing traditional folk songs of Norway. And I think he is joined by Isan on guitar, and isn't what's her name, his wife, on here as well. Star of Ash. I want to say her name was like Ireel or something. This is the cutest picture. Look at that fella. So that's homie, Harding Rock. Oh, and Asgeir Mikkelsen plays something on this? Yeah. So, really weird release. I feel like you don't hear about this because it probably isn't very good, or it's just like the furthest removed from what the players were doing elsewhere that it could possibly be. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in throwing that in and seeing what it's all about. Check this one off the wish list. I don't know why. At some point, I threw this on my Discogs wish list, and it's just been sitting there, and I've been seeing copies go for like $18, $20, and I've just been like, nah, I'm not buying for years. And so finally, like, one copy fell under the like $13 range, and I pulled the trigger. This is Gollum with Eternity, Weeping Horizon, and The Second Moon. So this is 2 albums put together, re-released on double CD. Now, of note here is that the original album cover of this Weeping Horizon album is hilariously one of the worst album covers you will ever see. In fact, here you are, right? It's god awful. So thankfully this new artwork it's pretty cool. I actually kind of like this stuff. Upon putting this in, I didn't remember how much of a Carcass clone this band was. Like, I think they're from Germany, and most definitely pulling from necroticism, trying to, pull on that style quite a bit. Can't remember if I put in the second album or not. I'm expecting it's probably more of the same. I was a little bummed out because I thought this was more of kind of like a early death, late thrash kind of frenzied thing, and it's not really. So, I don't know. I was a little bummed that it wasn't what I expected it to be, or like misremembered it being. So it's completely on me. Man, this is all stuff I have barely listened to. I'm embarrassed. Aternus, for the 7th, his soul detesteth. So I got this not because of that album, but because this is the only other way, without paying a lot of money, to get the Dark Sorcery fucking thing. Dark Sorcery EP on compact disc. Originally released in like 93, I want to say, and I've just kind of always wanted to get that Dark Sorcery material on disc. And so I finally have it. And also, like, the mid-era, I don't know, Aternus did some, like, really generic, just, like, brutal death metal albums, for lack of a more specific term. But I feel like there was kind of maybe a evolution out of that was pretty decent. And I want to say this album was kind of pretty well reviewed. And then the most recent one I remember listening to, and it was really cool. Nowhere near as cool as the old stuff, of course, but really, really interesting to see that he'd finally like come around to making this kind of stuff again. So I should pop this in. But I'll tell you what, I put the Dark Sorcery EP in, and it wasn't nearly as cool as the debut. I don't know. So how about some really awesome things for a second? Have you ever heard of a band called Furball? That's right. This album is called Those Shredded Dreams. You read that right. And I am the kind of guy who will pick this up in a second because this is probably really cool. But all of the visuals that you're getting off of this thing should be telling you to stay the fuck away from this thing. It belongs in a cutout bin and it sucks. I mean, the dude right here is wearing one of those like woven carpet pullover hoodie kind of deals. So like, how would you ever know that this is so fucking awesome? Furball were from Sweden. They predate. They don't really predate any of it. They're kind of brethren with your graves and your entombs and your dismembers. Because they kind of played that HM2 style kind of death metal, and even I would say before Wolverine Blues, really, which I kind of think most people will recognize as like the advent of like your death and roll kind of stuff, which we all kind of like, there's like 2 minutes of death and roll that's pretty good. But if you traced it back to Those Shredded Dreams, this is fucking awesome. It's super heavy. There's a lot of just kind of like, I guess, bass-led sort of groovy rock and roll kind of transitions here and there. I think where most other Swedish death metal releases were brutal or moshy, this thing just kind of has some more, I guess, laid back kind of moments that are the kind of tongue-in-cheek in a way, I guess. I don't know, there's nothing really that overt about it, but it's like, I just can't tell you enough. This thing is amazing. There was a reissue of this done a couple years ago, which goes for something like $90 or something. So I've been pining for a copy of this for a really long time. Copy showed up on Discogs for 35 bucks, and I am so stoked to finally have a copy of this thing in my collection. If there's one album from this video, this lackluster video that you listen to, check out, it is this. It better be this. Furball fucking rules. I guarantee you, if you love Swedish death metal of any type, check out that Furball. It's so fucking good. I've always thought about maybe getting a copy of this Ceremonial Oath with the seminal album. Yeah, you read that right. Carpet. Why? And this is the reissue, because the original copies of fucking Carpet sold out, and Vic Records has reissued this thing. So kind of in the wake of the Majesty's release, I've been just kind of going back and listening to a lot of the influences that went into this thing. By the way, this is going to air like afterwards, but in about 15 minutes, Majesty's is going to be on Heavy Metallurgy channel talking about their influences that went into the channel, into the album. So Carpet were a Swedish death metal band. They're more known for Book of Truth, their debut. It's awesome. I want to say the Crypt reissued that one, and maybe even this one. I'm not sure. But this is... I'm glad I didn't pay too much for it. It's not awful. It's got a lot of good. It's got a lot of good riffs. If I could just take away the 20% of the parts and riffs that are really stupid, it would be great. That's, yeah. But I bought that entirely on my love of the debut Book of Truth. A couple more releases, but one of them I want to talk to you in great depth and detail. Been meaning to pick up a copy of this for probably 18 years. Wicked Innocence, Omnipotence, finally reissued last year by Corpse Gristle, maybe 2020. Yeah, 2021. Boy, where to begin? This is, I guess, if you take like brutal death metal back to the early to mid 90s, some bands I think were trying to kind of steer that ship into a weirder direction. Like I think Pungent Stench may have had kind of a little bit of an influence. By the way, like that Furball, Pungent Stench owes them a lot of money. Anyways, so I don't know. This is just such a fucking weird release. It's kind of early brutal death metal, but it's not like great like you would think an early brutal death metal album would be from 93, 94. It was an early Napalm release, and I just always remember having like a third of one song from this album on MP3 on my computer for several years, and I always thought, man, I gotta get that. If like this takes me back to a very specific moment in like internet piracy or MP3 technology history. So before Napster, you could, like, what most bands I think did was on their website they would have like, okay, here's our albums, and then from each one of their albums or so there would be like 2 MP3s that you could download, and they'd be like super low bit rate and only like a third of the song. And so I would collect those and just kind of have them and listen to them. I just kind of hoarded them because it was like exotic to be able to have access to music from across the world that you could never get in Iowa. So this is one of those things that I remember always having a snippet of an MP3 of and always being really impressed with. Another one I always had was like Embryonic Hammer Death was a band that I think I still have that folder somewhere on a hard drive. I should go through that and look and see what that was. So what I remember was like when Napster came out, I thought, oh, what a cool way for people to share their MP3 samples with one another, because I didn't realize that you could like take MP3s from CDs and have like the whole thing. And so when I first got interested in sharing MP3s and getting on Napster and all that, that was my innocent idea of what was going to happen. I just always thought that was funny. It was like, oh, we aren't doing a nice thing of having like small snippets of albums. We're doing the whole thing. Okay, let's just fucking get everything. Yeah, and we all know how that ended. Metallica. Picked up a couple holes in my Cyanide collection because they had these on sale on their Bandcamp. I was never really the hugest Cyanide fan, really whatsoever. But I've kind of come around to them, and I've got a couple OG presses of their 3 first albums. Just never really heard these ones. This is a double CD version that has like a different mix of one of these albums, and an unreleased demo from '99. So yeah, that's there. So finally, this is a really important release. I filmed a reaction video to this thing when I first put it in, but I can't even remember what was wrong with it. It didn't turn out. But this is important. This is Dark Side of the Sacred Star. Now, if you might recognize this logo, this is kind of a different version of the Peaceville logo. So this is a release like celebrating, I don't know, 30 years or something of Peaceville doing what they do. And so disc 1 is kind of new exclusive material, and disc 2 is not. It's whatever. So we'll get into that in a second. The first disc here is a lot of awesome stuff. And by the way, the whole book was written by a buddy of mine, John Rosenthal, who we have been doing podcasts with. I've been doing podcasts with John. John does Invisible Oranges, and we've been doing the Invisible Oranges podcast. We have done Dothemsgard. That was a fucking life-affirming moment. I got to chat with Dothemsgard for like 2 hours. And then we did the homies Majesties. So that'll be, look for that soon. So this thing is cool. This has the return of Norway's Kvist. I don't know if you knew this or heard this, but Kvist is back. They're recording new material, and the first track is on here. Oh, by the way, this is not, that's something else. So, Kvist is back. I don't want to spoil it too much, but I wasn't let down. I was excited. It's a demo recording, unmixed, of a song that will be on their forthcoming album. So, I don't want to spoil it. You should get this. There's a lot of notes in here, historical things that John has written. There's probably, I don't know, 30 pages in here of tons of different stuff. So what else is on here? There is a new side project of Dothemsgard called Dødsmagurd. Let's just go down the track list here with you guys. Okay, so Mortem are back. They did an album a couple years ago. Didn't really care for it. I don't know this Ruim thing. I think this is a new forthcoming band. It was pretty cool. Dark Throne, a song from their new album, sucks. Not feeling that new style. Let's not get into it. So this Dødsmagurd, oh boy. Okay, the new Dothemsgard is fucking amazing. I've been listening to pretty much. Okay, the reason I haven't listened to most of this stack is because I've been listening to Majesties and Dothemsgard 100% of my time. Okay, just get that out of the way. So Dødsmagurd is a new, different, very, very different side thing. I want to say it kind of reminded me of Dark Space, but with this kind of signature Vikotnik Dothemsgard absolute crazy manic weirdness, not to a way over embellished extent at all, but it kind of blew my fucking mind. It echoed so distinctly back to when I first heard 666 International. I was like 19 years old, and I had been waiting for that album to come out for so long because Satanic Art was such a cock tease. And it took me right back to that moment where I was just like, how the fuck did they even ever think of this shit? This is insane. Okay, so it goes on. There's Morka. I don't really care for them. There's Mortuary Drape. I don't like Mortuary Drape. Avmacht. I don't remember what that is, but Hell Ripper has a track on here, and holy shit, I didn't know Hell Ripper. Boy, that fucking blew my eyeballs into my asshole. And then we've got just an old Dothemsgard, like, track from the first album, like, different mix. It's whatever. And then finally, there's kind of like a Thorns related. I don't really know what to make of this. It's not very great, but I think it's kind of it's evidence that something may possibly be happening with Thorns soon. I don't know. I really don't know. Closing Dark Side of the Sacred Star is another surprise guest. Musician Snorre Rook has been notably quiet over the past decade. Even neglecting his Thorns limited project in favor of obscurity. An updated version of the instrumental Helvet the Theme, Rook's return to the black metal world is more than welcome. And with open arms we embrace a slower song than the world is used to from the person who introduced tremolo picking to black metal. A heavy affair, even for the already heavy Thorns, Snorri Rook's theme is more militaristic and chugging than we might be used to. But this could be also a good sign. With a new Thorns album on the way, we'll see about that, and Snorre also involved with his Stigma project, we eagerly await what comes next. So I didn't know that apparently there's another thing that he's been doing called Stigma is activated. I don't know. John Rosenthal has his finger on the pulse of absolutely everything, and he always knows something that I don't. So if I know a lot of you guys are like impressed with what I know about what's going on, what has been there, and who did what. Rosenthal is insanely adept at all that stuff. Oh, and lastly, I don't know, we'll talk about this too much. Got this Ophthalmia to Alicia 2. So, I don't know, Ophthalmia were a great band. They influenced Majesties quite a bit. And this is like demo material, alternative mixes, unreleased stuff, just like the junk that was on the floor, which I kind of love. So there was a To Alicia 1, which was released on Necropolis like back in 96 or something like that. Hard to get. So it's reissued, remastered on here with another disc of kind of the same thing. So there's just a ton of just like unreleased Ophthalmia material from Soul Cellar. And this was released to commemorate the death of Tony Sarka, R.I.P. Shit, just busted my jewel case. So R.I.P. Tony, you were a riff master. So I've been kind of like priming myself for an Ophthalmia kick. I've now got, I think, all of their material now. So I'm going to go on a binge of listening to Ophthalmia all the time. All right, it's time for the Majesty's stream. We will see you very soon. Thanks for joining me. Woohoo! That was a great video, and it was made possible mostly by me, but also thanks to the undying and kind support of my Patreon subscribers. Thank you all. I love you. If you are interested in being a part of my Patreon channel and supporting what I do, you are welcome to join at the URL below. It is only $6.66 per month, and you're going to love it. Thank you.